companies don't own their rolling stock. Very, very few do. And that's because of the way the franchising system works. Because they've got a franchise for, say, 7 years, 10 years or something. The rolling stock is going to last until it's 30, 40 years old. So at the end of the franchise, if they don't win the next franchise, what would they do with the rolling stock if they didn't own it? So it's actually owned by the leasing companies in the main.
So there's no doubt that we are in need of some new trains here in the northwest, but when the last set of rolling stock was dished out, the majority of it actually went to the southeast. So could we be cynical there and say that decisions were taken perhaps based on the Olympics?
I would think that it was going to happen anyway, even without the Olympics. The southeast got something like 90% of the trains. Most of the rest of them went to Scotland. So I don't think we got anything in the northwest, did we? We got some cast-off carriages from elsewhere, and some of our newest trains were surprisingly sent to the southeast. But apart from that, we haven't had anything for ages. The latest lot that's turned up have been 30-year-old trains that have come from the Birmingham area.
So what are your group campaigning for?
We want decent trains, fit-for-purpose trains. How are we going to encourage people to use the railway more if the trains are really not fit for purpose?
Our trains are getting increasingly busy. We understand that. We're carrying 40% more passengers now than when we started. We've brought in additional carriages to try and meet some of that demand. In fact, we've brought in an additional 90% more carriages. Of course, we don't like to see trains that are overly busy, but we're doing everything we can to try and resolve that, and working with the Department for Transport, particularly as we approach the end of our franchise, to specify what the next franchise might look like in 2014.
One person that we interviewed as part of this report told us that sometimes the trains are so crowded that she's actually seen people collapse and ambulances be called to help them.
We've got very busy trains, we understand that, particularly on our peak commuter belts. We are doing all we can to ensure that our passenger experience is as good as it can be. I go back to when we took the franchise in 2004, it was envisaged that there would be no growth. We've got 40% more passengers, we're carrying 90 million people. Some trains are busy. We're doing all we can to bring that back to a more acceptable situation.
Why is it then historically that the North West gets such a bad deal in terms of the rolling stock that we have to travel to work in compared to the South East of England? It just doesn't seem fair.
Our average fare is £2.50. Most of our journeys are very short. There's an issue of affordability. If somebody would have to pay, if we were to bring in new rolling stock, somebody would have to pay, whether it's the DFT or the passenger or the taxpayer, there would be a cost to pay.
But overcrowding isn't the only issue facing commuters here in the North West. Although rail travel has a mostly excellent safety record, there's concern that one type of train is being used here far longer than its intended design life.
There have been rail buses before, just a coach body plonked onto a railway chassis. The new version is something different.
This is a Pacer 142 class train on its debut journey to Manchester in 1985. Pacers were a unique experiment, welding a bus body and seating onto a freight wagon chassis to try and find cheap alternative rail transport. They were designed to be used on rural routes.
The idea is that the rail bus can be run cheaply, can replace old coaches on lines that aren't paying and bring their operation back into profit.
But the Pacers and their metal bus seats will be a familiar sight to rail users in the region. The Pacer class now makes up a quarter of all Northern Rail's rolling stock. And as you can see, slow to Manchester recently, they're used at peak commuter times and often overcrowded.
We're doing everything we can to try and resolve that, and working with the Department for Transport, particularly as we approach the end of our franchise, to specify what the next franchise might look like in 2014.
One person that we interviewed as part